All right, well, hopefully a few more people will come on board here in the next few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and get started. We are recording today, so want to make sure that everything that we talk about today is done efficiently. So my name's John Shank. If you haven't met me before, hello. I am the National Sales Manager. I also have done production management and sales. I've also done installations myself. So I've kind of been on every gamut of gutter guards, especially this particular gutter guard over the last 12 years. And let's get started. So what we're talking about today, we're going to talk first about the Valor spec sheet. It kind of gives you a little bit of information that, you know, it's more for sales, but it's good for the installer to know as well, just to kind of know what you're working with. So can you put that on the board? There we go. So, the Valor spec sheet, what that is it just kind of explains what the product is. We have several different screen designs or screen gauges. So there's extra large, large, and standard. Some of you might know it as large, medium, and standard. The extra large, we are going to have limited amounts of that moving forward because it's not really advantageous in most situations unless you have a really high flow area. Obviously, with the standard mesh, we use a 0.00 wire. It's got 1,600 holes per square inch. Large mesh is 24. 24 mesh has 576 holes per square inch, and the extra large, which has 256 holes per square inch. And obviously you see the wire gauge changes as we move. There's 2.5 inches of screen exposed on the gutter guard. And the reason that is because the way the guard is made, it has that, the S curve in it, obviously takes on more water because it creates a surface tension. The frame increases that surface tension and causes water to fall through easily. What makes that different from other guards out there is most screens are flat with a very small limited perforation, where ours are very, very raised, giving you the maximum amount of flow. The louvers underneath kind of facilitate the flow of water. So water can fall directly through rather than falling to a tray and then working its way through. We're going to carry the galvanized steel in small quantities, special order, but so it'll be available, but we are not going to carry it standard. So it would be a special order item. Just FYI ahead of time that we have phased out the galvanized, but like I said, we will have it available if you need it for places where you have a high snow load or things like that. The mill finished aluminum, which is also all our colors come in aluminum as well. Now we still carry the 12-ounce copper. The 020 aluminum is a cold rolled aluminum. It's the same material you use for roof kit, roof cap. It's a 50-year product, so we give it a lifetime warranty. They come in 4-foot sections, obviously, easy with the screw holes pre-drilled, so it's for easy installation. I don't know if many of you guys know this. There's WUI and fire standards that are starting to come out across the country. And WUI is Wildlife Urban Interface. It's where the area between where the forest and urban areas are. It's a distance between there. From in those areas and in the forest or in the wildlife area, gutter guards are being required. So, and they must be fire compliant. They must be WUI compliant in order for them to, for insurance companies to insure the property. So just food for thought. This has a lifetime warranty. It is one of the best products on the market. If you want to flip to NCR. The reason it's considered one of the best products of the market is because of this website. So this was the only third-party website in the country at one time up till about 2020. And the gentleman that was running it shut the website down because he had other conflicting things that came up. We were rated #1 during that time that website was up. We did extensive testing on the product, and so when you're putting this product on, you can feel safe knowing that if you install it properly, you're going to get a good result. So you can flip to the next. So let's just start with roof pitch. This is our roof pitch chart. Valor Gutter Guards is optimal at a 412 pitch. You can use a flat wing, bent wing product up to a 412 pitch. You can still use the flat wing product on a 5 and 612 pitch if the roof material and the roof design allows it. So it's a judgment call, which is why I have it in the gray areas. Your optimal angle for that, the best is 19 degrees. And the reason I put 19 degrees is because that keeps it right at that 412 pitch. So if the roof's kind of gabled a little bit and the rest of the roof is steep, it's okay to go underneath the shingles as long as the gable it's gabled at 412 at the bottom. Also, anything over a 512 pitch, if you're not sure, go to bent wing. It's just going to save you so much time and trouble. When you're talking about roof designs, you're talking about metal roofs, tile roofs, the new metal shingle roof, just about every type of roof that's out there that has to do with that has artificial material like other than compound asphalt shingle will be probably leaning towards the bent wing installation. Most of you, I'm preaching to the choir, you know this kind of stuff already. I just want to be thorough and letting people know and telling everyone where this actually lies, so that because we had a previous install pitch gauge that somehow it got jumbled in the system and the numbers got kind of scrambled, and so I had to correct that and put this out there. Let's move to the website password.
We don't have. You didn't give me that.
It's on the board.
You didn't give me.
Oh, we can go to bent wing, flat wing. It's just website, just the website password. Yeah. Excuse me. So what we're doing is we're going to go to the website. The website has a password for all our dealers. You can go on and you can see the install videos there. This video will be presented there on when we finish this today. Well, it'll go up probably next week sometime. And so we're pulling up the website. If you go to become a dealer, and then you'll see the dealer login drop down. You'll click on that, and then the password for that, you'll want to write this down, is VALOR 2022 exclamation. That's with a capital V at the beginning. All lowercase after that. Capital V, lowercase ALOR 2022 exclamation. And there's your installation videos. Now I'm going to be putting a lot more assets on there. You're going to have marketing materials and other stuff on there here eventually. You'll see door hangers. You'll see, little installation tricks, the light clip installation video, all those types of things. So let's just start with so bent wing, flat wing. We've been talking about bent wing and flat wing. Obviously, this is the bent wing product. When you're using the bent wing product, you're gonna say you got a box gutter. If you're in Florida, you got super gutters. If you're going underneath shingles in say Alabama, you want to make sure you're using on like the 812 pitches that you have down there. You want to be using a bent wing product. And I shouldn't have said going underneath the shingles. So what this, when you prep your gutter guards, when you're getting ready to do a seam, what you're going to do is you're going to take it and you're going to try to cut it similar to that. Now, I don't do it that clean, but I just want to make sure that right here, all the little frays are off the edge of the frame, because that can create a problem for you. If you pay attention to the little tiny things, you'll see how that's cut just a little bit off the frame. It's going to be the same in the front. That's going to save you a service call. Sometimes when that screen is still touching the front part of the frame or the back part of the frame, water can get around it. And so you want to make sure that when you're doing the seam, that little piece of overhang is separated. When you're placing it and you're doing a bent wing product, if you'll see underneath the gutter here at the drip edge, you're going to want to make sure there's at least a 1/2 inch clearance from the gutter to the top of the roof line. If you don't have that clearance and that gutter's flush on that roof line, bent wing product's going to be difficult to install. Obviously, there's not enough room to mount the back end. What a lot of guys end up doing, and I've had to correct that, is they'll pitch it slightly backwards, and you can't do that. It will create a service call eventually. I've had guys do it, and I never got a service call. But believe me, in 3 to 5 years, they're going to get a call, and it's not going to be a good one. So don't do that, please. If you got to lower the gutter, and I'll talk to your salespeople about this to make sure they know that they need to factor in lowering the gutter if that's an issue on that particular house, and it's feasible. So on some of these, if you got to lower the gutter, it's a metal roof and water skimming off the metal roof is going to clear the gutter, and it's not going to work. So some of them are up above the gutter, obviously, so that they catch that water that's coming off so fast. And in those cases, you just can't put a gutter guard on. And so when you run into that, you just let your salespeople know they messed up. That's just the truth. The only other way to combat that is if you were to put diverters on the entire roof to slow the water down so that it'll come over the top, and then you create all kinds of other problems. It's not worth it. So that's the bent wing product. That's how it's installed on a comp shingle roof and a tile roof for that matter. So you're fastening in it here and here, which, like I said, many of you guys, I'm preaching to the choir. You guys already know this, and you just don't pitch it backwards. The flat wing product is a little different in that you're just sliding it under the first rung of shingles. Now, if the gutter is the right size, it should only be right on the drip edge. It should never even get to the membrane. If it's too big and it's going to the membrane, you might want to trim it down. There's a great tool out there, DeWalt tool. It's a metal cutting shear, and you can just zip it right off. It's super easy, especially with the aluminum now that we're not using the steel as much. The steel might have been a little bit harder, but the aluminum's great. And I know a lot of you installers are glad we did that because the aluminum's just so much easier to work with. The 3 types of screens. This is obviously a standard mesh. You're going to use this in pine needle situations. You're going to use it in situations where you have that small debris. You're going to be careful. The one Achilles heel we have with the finer mesh, actually with all of them, when it comes to like cotton willow trees, that it comes off. It's just like cotton, and it'll mat up on just about every guard you can think of. So it doesn't matter. That's the one tree when you see it and you see it on the property, you let the customer know, hey, you got a cotton willow tree there. It's going to work. It's going to keep your gutters clear, but you're going to have to still peel that mat off your roof that you get every year. With the higher gauge wire, you get a little bit more rigidity with the gutter guard as well. But it's a larger mesh, as you can see. That large mesh is the one I use pretty much exclusively. It's pretty universal. The 24 mesh is just the right size. It's small enough for pine needles. It's big enough for, or it's fine enough for pine needles. It's big enough for large, or what do you call it? Silt, pollen, and debris like that to get through the screen easily. So we're going to move over here to gutter type. So you have your K-style gutter. In California, we have a fascia style gutter. A lot of you guys are dealing with box gutters, half rounds, spike and ferrule installation. With a spike and ferrule for installation with Valor gutter guards, sometimes the spike is high enough to where the bottom piece is going to touch that spike. If you're in that situation, you can actually take a screwdriver and just give it a little tap on the frame to make a little indentation so that it'll sit on that hanger properly. With the aluminum, it's real easy to do. With the steel, impossible. So if you're using steel, don't try that situation. The super gutters in Florida, it's really good to have maybe a screen company that you work with that'll pull the screen away from the super gutter so that you can cover it properly. You're going to want to get an inside measurement of that gutter. The inside measurement is from where your drip edge is to the inside of the gutter. That measurement is crucial on half rounds, anything custom, copper for sure. When you run into a custom gutter, make sure you get that inside measurement if you're using bent wing. We want to make sure that custom fit is right. When you see, let's do outside corners first. So with an outside corner, and they didn't bring me one, it's really super simple. This is going to look backwards, but I'm just doing this for training purposes. So with this particular outside corner, and like I said, this is backwards, you'll see it doesn't quite match up. And you're going to get that a lot when you're cutting corners. And what we do is we take a cover strip and we'll put some glue on either side of the screen here, and we'll slide that over. Sorry, and we'll cut it. Sorry, obviously this wasn't made for that. So then that goes over the top of your cut screen, and it'll be glued down. It'll actually look a little bit flusher than that. You're going to cut right here so that you can push this down into this area here, kind of like so. Yeah, it's not going to work. Thanks, Manuel. But you get the gist. Yeah, the seam cover is what you're going to do to cover up any jagged edges or anything to make it look clean. That's pretty much the simple, easy way to do an outside corner, whether it's bent wing or flat wing. And you'll order these trim packs separately. These are cover strips. You'll see trim pack, which is actually an end cap that you'll use to cover end caps. The diverter set, which are these, if you're using bent wing, pretty much work for every single corner, or not corner, end cap. So you can use it for an end cap, as you can see. They go on real nice. They look real clean, and it gives it a nice finished look along with the cover strip. The inside corner, we use a high flow inside miter. The high flow inside miter, it looks like this. It's got a perforation here that catches the water. This creates the surface tension to make it fall through. You cut it to fit the gutter size, and then you cut the back end off so that it'll fit up underneath the flange on the roof. Now, you're going to run into a lot of difficult situations. This one that we made is one of those. So what we do here is we cut this to fit. You see we cut this to fit, just like that. And then what we're doing is you gotta kind of finesse it up in there, and it takes a minute to try to get the material to slide in. But if you work with it, you get a real nice fit, and then obviously you mount it. And what this does is obviously going to take on more water because it has more screen area. It's a much better way to do an inside corner. It's simpler. There's less cuts. You can do it right on the roof and have them just toss them up on every corner. And then when you get to it, you trim it to fit and pop it in. And that was one of the harder ones. You are going to run some that you can't get under here, and you'll have to cut it to fit against, and then you'll want to caulk around it. I don't run into those too often, but it happens. So when we talked about inside corners also, the cut inside corner, which is what this was cut for, slides in, pretty simple. This is obviously the flat wing. Bent wing works exactly the same way. And again, you get a little bit of a gap there. So two things you can do. You can do a seam cover like this, make sure it's not upside down, because if it's upside down, it makes a gutter. If it's right side up, it's got a little curve to it, and you can slide it in and then cut to fit. Covers that corner, and you put a little dab of caulking right there. Most of these are gonna, when you're cutting them out on the site, you're cutting them a little bit more exact. This is just a standard pre-cut miter. And I don't know if you guys know this, we do have pre-cut miters. They're already ready to go. They have a seam cover. You can buy them as is. We'll send them out to you, and you can take it out, and then you just trim them to fit with your snips. This is probably the easiest way to do a corner if you're in a pickle. But again, your screen area is smaller. Your inside corners are always where you have the problems, which is why I use the high floor. So it's easier in installation, but it's less effective in functionality. So that's something you want to take into consideration. What I do on an inside corner, I don't use the shiny ones, but I do put diverters on the inside corner. So how these diverters work is I put them first on the lower rung and slide them together like this. You're going to leave a little bit of an opening so that when the water comes down. Now, if you put just one on the bottom, you're going to get a waterfall. So you got to put 3 in succession. So another one 2 feet up, and another one 2 feet up, and then you'll have a cascading effect that causes the water to slow down. And when it hits the screen, no matter what's there, it should be going slow enough to catch the water. You can, while it's on the gutter, with this particular gutter guard, or this particular inside corner rather, you can put these in the guard itself and glue them on, so that when the water comes down, it does pull it to the left and to the right. You still need something to slow it down, because if that water comes down and hits this, it's a ramp. You're making a ramp. It's gonna go right over the top. Your customer's gonna call you, especially if it's over their patio or their front door. So just FYI on that. All right. Does anybody have any questions on installation at this point? I'm kind of going through this really fast. I'm doing it really basic. I wanted to be a little bit more detailed on the outside corner, but unfortunately, I for some reason I didn't bring one of those out here. So the next thing I would say is common issues you run into: dry screens and awnings. I'm going to show you a picture on the screen here. Not that one. That one. So as you can see, this is an awning that was built after the house and after the roof. And you'll see it's really beautiful underneath, and they got a nice patio furniture, and they got a little case there. The problem you're going to have here is when you put a gutter guard on that gutter underneath that awning, water's going to come right over the top of that. It's going to douse their porch. It's going to get in their little box there. It'll probably get on some of the patio furniture that's close to that chimney. It's going to create a mess. You're going to get a call, guaranteed. So what we do in those situations, there's really 3 things you can do. So you can let the customer know and tell them whenever it rains, they got to run their hand across it to get the screen saturated. So what happens is the water will come down and hit the dry screen, and it'll go right over the top of it, and it'll siphon like that until somebody touches it. Or I don't know if you ever had a screen you got wet at home, and you're getting it wet, but as soon as you touch your finger to it, the water will come right through it. Well, that's what's going to happen here if it's a dry screen. So you can put a mister up, which is what they can turn on when it starts to rain, or you can use extra large mesh, which is something we're phasing out for the most part. We're going to have it available again, like I said, on a special order. So and it's for situations like this where nothing else is going to work. You need to put, obviously you can see this house, it would be perfect to use the extra large mesh because there's no big pine trees around. The only one you really got to worry about for pine needles with the extra large mesh, it can get really bad, is the small Doug fir pine needles. So keep that in mind when you're out there. If you see something like this, let the customer know they might have to put a hose on it when it rains, or rub their hand across it. I don't like the idea of doing either one of those things. I just put large mesh, the extra large mesh on them, and that should clear that up pretty quickly, because that one will actually take on the water. Go to the next slide. So talking about diverters, back to diverters again, you'll notice on this diagram, I didn't put any diverters. This is up on the roof. And the reason I didn't put any diverters is because this gutter right here is emptying out on the roof already. If you get a little overshoot onto the roof, it's not going to matter. It's all going to come down that roof line anyway. So what I would do is put extra large mesh in there to dissipate that a little bit, make it a little bit less, so it's not like a puddle, like a flowing stream coming off that roof line. Go to the next slide. Next one. Next one. There it is. So that particular house, what I just showed you, that roof empties out onto the left side in between this two valley where it says diverters. So this is a very complicated roof, and that's why I chose it. So this particular roof, you're going to put all extra large mesh right here in this, because what you have is you have an upper roof emptying out onto the lower roof, emptying out on, and it's all coming down. It's coming down these two gullies really fast. If you don't slow the water down right there, you're going to have a mess on your hands. And you can see that the shingles come out onto the screen. So when they installed this, they had to, they're pulling the leaf filter off, because that's leaf filter on there right now. They're pulling that leaf filter off and putting our gutters on, our gutter guards on there, because they'll work in this situation, but you still have to put in some obstacles in order to slow that water down. What I did here, we put diverters right here on the just below the window, the two diverters there that kind of get that water to push out away from the house, so that it doesn't all converge on that one little gully. That upper roof is coming down straight to that little flange there in the center, where I put high flow inside miter and drew a circle. That's going to be a crucial area. So you're going to put diverters on each one of those spots. You might even put diverters on the other side, on the in the middle of the roof, in order to slow or cascade or waterfall that water to get it to slow down. Again, the same thing on the gable there. You're going to want to put two diverters there to push it out, so that because what it's going to do, it's going to hit that diverter. It's going to cascade around, come back to the middle, hit that second diverter, come around, and then it's going to come down to that middle piece rather than flowing straight down at a high speed. And that's what we're looking to. And I even put a line there. If you see the arrow going back and forth, there's a line just above it. You can also put a diverter there if it's still not enough in order to slow that down. So you can see how that can get real intricate. And as an installer, you have to know what to do in these situations. And for any gutter guard in this situation, that is, in my opinion, the best method, unless there's something that you know that I don't. But yeah, that's so let's go to front and back porch. So this is a back porch, same concept. So you're not under an awning, but you have a gutter that's emptying out onto the roof. And just underneath there is half that gutter is underneath the roof. So it's not getting wet naturally from the rain. So it's going to be a dry screen. What you got to do there is either put a downspout from that gutter to the next, or you're going to want to put a diverter on the dry side that pushes the water towards the wet side. And that can be done very simply with our diverter sets. I usually put a T, which looks like this, just below that, and I'll concave. Well, actually, on that particular one, I'd do this, and so the water would scoot around it. And that would be on obviously the inside of the gutter portion where that's draining out. And you'll see the watermarks where it's been coming around. Obviously, you guys have been on the roofs. You know what that looks like. Go to the next one. This is another great example. You see they have splash guards there. That's why they have splash guards there. What's happening, and it's coming around. In fact, those splash guards are in the wrong place, in my opinion. I would not have put them there. I would have moved it over underneath a little bit. What's going to happen there is they're still going to get drainage. They're still going to get runoff because that water is going to whip around and come down through that dry area, and you're going to get the same thing. Again, you can put, instead of putting a splash guard up there, you can put a diverter set up there that angles that water away. Can they see this?
Yeah.
Okay. That angles the water away, and you just glue them right on the roof underneath. These can come in color. So if you get charcoal they pretty much match the comp shingle roof color. Brown if you have to, white if you need it. But yeah, they come in colors. They don't have to be a big shiny booger up on the roof like those are. Underneath the awning there, or the eave there. Without that, with a gutter guard, you're always going to have a problem. So just keep that in mind when you see those situations. That's something that needs to be addressed. Downspouts on the roof, same thing. If you see a downspout emptying out onto a roof and it's coming down to one specific area, and it's a 2-foot area or a 5-foot area, even in a 20-foot run, if that water's coming down and it's a high flow and it's coming down to that area, you're going to want to put a piece of large mesh in those areas. I usually use 2 to cover the whole distance when I have a downspout there. So just food for thought when you're out there and you see that. If your salesperson has done their job properly, you're going to have all the parts you need. Okay. And I have no problem walking the salespeople through their orders, or the production manager through the orders, and taking a look at the rooftops to get you the right parts until everybody gets acclimated to what that should look like. To avoid any drips at any seam, if it's done properly, you shouldn't get it. If you're pitched a little bit too high, water's going to collect at the front and it can go up over the underneath. So if you're using flat wing, do not use it above a 5/12 pitch is my recommendation. 4/12 pitch is where if you really want to just cover your butt and not get any overshoot, use flat wing on a 4/12 pitch or below. Use bent wing on everything else. Many of my customers do bent wing everywhere. They just use bent wing. The only downfall of that, again, is those flush gutters where they're sitting flush on the roof line, or they're the metal roof where the gutter is sitting higher than the roof line. In those situations, you either got to lower the gutter, or you got to think of something different for a gutter guard, gutter brush, something that they can pull out. I don't recommend them, but in certain situations, you have no choice, as you know, as installers. Is there any questions? Any situations you've been in that you had to work through that you're not sure about? Any roofs you've been on and you said, "Oh man, I don't know what to do on this roof"? I've kind of covered that kind of stuff. If you ever have a question, I'm going to have Manuel put my number on the board here. It's 916-303-6204. He's going to post it on the thread here. And you can reach me at that number most of the time. If I'm not at that number, it'll roll to my cell phone. And if I'm available, I will pick up. Okay. You're going to get a lot more hands-on treatment with me on the, running the ship here, because I that's who I am. I'm more of a customer service guy. I'm going to make sure you guys are taken care of. I go above and beyond for you, and I prefer to do that for my customers, because your success means my success. If I'm not there to answer the phone and you got a question, you're stuck, and I don't want any bad thoughts. So please feel free to call me if you get stuck on a roof. I don't care if you're sitting on a roof and you're going, man, what do I do with this? Take a picture, send it to me, and say, hey, John, what do I do on this roof? You know, how do I fix this corner? Oh my gosh, it's an octagon roof. You know, do you have pre-cuts for an octagon roof? Stuff like that. Because I can do custom cuts for pretty much everything. So if you have something that's a real difficult roof, and you know you're going to be out there for 6 hours doing cuts, give me a call. Let's talk it through. We'll schedule the day that you're going to go out, and we'll make sure that you have the cuts that you need so that you can do that a little bit more expediently when you're on the job site. Because that obviously you moving more efficiently is going to make you more money ultimately as an installer, and we want to make everybody money here. So thank you guys for showing up for the install show. Sorry it wasn't as good as I thought it would be, but there was a few little hiccups, but not too bad. Hey, Eric. This is going to be kind of the same thing I just did, but hopefully a little bit better. I got an outside corner this time. Are you a sales rep or are you an installer?
So kind of jack of all trades right now. Technically,
You've got to turn on the. Go ahead.
Okay, you got me now?
Can you hear him?
No, his volume's not up.
Is it our volume or his?
His or can't hear him.
Can you hear me?
Huh, that's weird. Yeah, I can't hear you.
I can hear you guys.
You can hear me.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of just going to be the same thing. We're gonna go over because the installers really need to know everything the salespeople know, but better, because they need to know what parts to order for the project. So when they're filling out their drawing their diagram, they need to specify, hey, on this roof, you've got an overhang that's coming over the top of the gutter. You're going to need diverters. You're going to need a splash guard, whatever, whatever's required on that roof. And many guys, especially salespeople, there's a lot of turnover in sales. So it's important that, everybody has access to that information before they go out on a sale. So it's just, it's good to have. I think I got grayer on that last one. I got a little turned around because we got the slides out of sync, and then I was going back and forth, which was my fault. I tried to throw Manuel under the bus, but it was my fault.
You guys can't hear me right now?
I can't hear.
Hang on. Let's see.
Yeah. Manuel's trying to figure out your speaker issue. What's that up in the corner there on the yellow tab?
These?
Yeah.
Calls open to anyone, and people outside the organization are here.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's weird because we had good audio last time.
Test.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I see your speaker things. I can see the
Little circle thing.
You can hear me. I can't hear you though. Yeah. No.
Hang on.
He's trying to do it.
Test.
I can hear
There we
you.
go.
Still nothing from him.
There we go.
Can you say something?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
Got
there we go. There we go.
Well,
So,
it looks like you're the only one that's going to show up for the sales.
hey, I'm here for you guys.
Right on.
So I'm the director of operations, but I'm filling in sales a couple days a week just to catch us back up.
Okay. So this will be a little easier then. So basically this, I don't know if you've seen our sales bags. Have you seen them?
Yeah, we have a couple of them.
Oh, good. Yeah, so this is just the basic sales bag. That's what the new ones look like. Pretty much the same thing. We are going to add to the board ASTM moving forward, the fire compliance rating and the WUI compliance rating, so that people can see. That's becoming a real thing in California and several other states. They've adopted WUI, and the fire compliance laws are going into effect, mostly being enforced by the insurance companies. The insurance companies saw an opportunity to cancel insurance policies and raise prices. So, of course, and they're going to take advantage of that. So, if I got calls a couple weeks ago from people up in Tahoe, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I got 3 properties. The insurance company just threatened to cancel my insurance if I don't get gutter guards on my property." The catch-22 is that they haven't got a standard yet for the fire portion of it. So it's basically, it just says you got to put a gutter guard on. What that entails as far as what type of gutter guard you got to put on there. Obviously, it needs to be A-class fire compliant in order for it to be fire resistant. That's not in the verbiage yet, so they're going to change that. So what a lot of leak filter people will do is they'll go out in front of you and say, "Oh, well, you can put any gutter guard on," and you really can't. You can put on a fire compliant gutter guard, but if they put it on there later on, when somebody comes out and takes a look at the house, or if they get caught with something that's going to burn, they will get in trouble for that with their insurance company. Their insurance company will say they have to tear it off and replace it. Now, if they just spent $20,000 on a leaf filter system or a buyer's leaf guard system, the customer is going to be pretty upset. So it's really good information for you to be able to say, "Hey, you know what? We are already fire compliant. We're already WUI compliant. So you're not going to lose your homeowner's insurance. We can't help you if the rate goes up because you're in a fire area, but we can prevent you from losing your insurance." And so that's a good plus for you as a sales guy to have that kind of ammunition. And I'll send over that what those codes are in an email after this meeting. So Steve, looked like Steve and Steve just came on. Steve, we were just talking about the sales bag. Do you have a sales bag with one of these? He's not answering. He's probably got it muted. That's all right. All right. So just to get started again, we're just going to go over this pretty much the same thing we were going.
Yes, no mic.
Oh, no mic. Okay. That's cool, Steve. If you want a sales bag, let me know and we can get you taken care of with a sales bag. It comes with a kill kit. Got a piece of gutter glove in here. It's got a piece of leaf filter. It's got a piece of another couple cheap brands, and then it's got 50 brochures in it, and it's got a little tabletop display, and obviously samples of Valor. So it's nice to have. You can convert this to a leather briefcase if you want, where one of those ones that open up like this, and you can put the insert down in there and use it there as well. that's pretty much the sales bag. It's nice, lightweight, easy to carry, and that's something we can supply to you. There is a cost to them, but we try to make them at our cost for you guys. So basically, what we're doing, Mike, I see you just came on, Steve, and we also have Eric here. I'm basically going through the same thing we just went through. Hopefully I can do it a little bit more detailed and less choppy. The Valor spec sheet is what I start off with normally. And so we'll take a look at that again. Thank you. So the Valor spec sheet is basically giving you the breakdown of the gutter guard. Now, as a salesperson, you're armed with, okay, what is a 304 stainless steel screen? A 304 stainless steel screen is a stainless steel that has a higher amount of nickel in it. The higher the nickel in the stainless steel, the more stainless it becomes, the more resistant to corrosion it becomes. The highest level is 316. It's a marine grade. It's for marine applications. So if you're by the ocean or something like that, that it'll work a little bit better, but not much. So the 304 is really overkill for most situations. Even if you're in a marine application, the 304 is plenty good enough for that type of application. You might get a year or two difference out of it, but it's a lifetime warranty, and that's not your standard lifetime warranties. I don't know if many of the lifetime warranties across the country, when I was new in this business, I was figuring out, okay, what is this lifetime warranty about? And so what I got to find out was each state has a term limit for what a lifetime warranty is. A lifetime warranty can be 2 years, or it can be 50 years. So, and why is that? Well, what they do is they say lifetime warranty, but what they mean is the life of the product. And so the life of the product is not always the same as your life. So they can say lifetime product, and it's not really your lifetime, it's the life of the product. So if they've got a cheap plastic product and it says lifetime warranty, in many states that means 5, 7, 10 years. It doesn't mean the life of the home or you. So just keep that in mind. Our lifetime warranty is for the life of the product, which is 50 years. If you have a problem in that 50-year problem, or in that 50-year span, obviously we're going to take care of it. The 020 aluminum we use is a cold rolled aluminum. It's the same as a roof kit or roof cap. It's a 50-year product. They don't corrode. When they oxidize, they oxidize white, so you don't see it. It's a much better product for corrosion and things like that. You do have a smaller amount of screen, and this is explainable. So when you're in a sales call, they say, well, the other company's got a larger screen area. Well, the reason why it has a larger screen area is because it has to have a larger screen area in order to absorb that much water. With our product, the way it's built, with the raised screen design, not only does it take on more water that creates surface tension, but it also has a frame underneath it that gives it that creates more surface tension and doubles that intake. So, and there's no tray down below. So most gutter guards that are full frame, like Valor, have a tray below, and the water falls to the tray and then finds a hole, and then it goes through. You'll see some have footballs, some have ovals, some have circles. They're stamped products, and they have the screen over the top of them. They aren't perforated like ours. If they are, they're very small perforations, and they don't give it enough surface tension in order for it to take on enough water. The other part about that is with the louvered frame, the water just falls freely through. And when you touch the screen underneath with the frame, it falls through faster. And so you don't need that much screen area. In fact, you only need about 1 inch of that screen area. We put 2.5 inches there. It's really for aesthetics and for perception. You don't need all that screen area because this product will work that efficiently if installed properly. If you don't install it properly, you can have all kinds of problems. But we'll get into that in a few minutes. We have pre-cut inside and outside miters. So when you're talking to your customer, you say, hey, this is going to be an easy install for the installer. It's also going to be aesthetically pleasing. We have pre-cut miters for inside corners, outside corners. We also have a specialty miter that we use that I'll also get into in a few minutes. We have a 3 different types of meshes. You have the standard mesh and the large mesh, which is the most commonly used. The extra large mesh we only use in extreme situations, and I'll explain some of those as we go through where you would use those large meshes. As a salesperson, you really have to know the roof and the job better than an installer if you're going to be effective, because the installer is counting on you to get the right parts for the roof. And if you write up a diagram and the diagram isn't properly done, and they can't identify certain areas, also your production manager should know this information too, just to throw that in there. If they can't identify the right parts, they get out to their install and they're going, oh man, I don't have any diverters here. Oh, I don't have any large mesh here for this downspout that's on the roof. And I'll get into those situations here in just a few minutes. The different gauge wires, as the mesh gets larger, the wire gets a little bit fatter and it gives a little bit more rigidity. So the larger mesh, I use large mesh just about on everything. So if I'm going to be out on a job, I don't even consider the standard mesh unless I see pine needles. If I see pine needles, real small debris, things that I know will wiggle through the large mesh, it's just really redundant to even use the standard mesh anymore. I really moved to I really moved to the large mesh on everything. Did we talk about WUI? No. So wildlife urban interface, I think I may have brought that up, but let's talk about it again because it's really important. Your fire rated products, your WUI compliance, that's going to come up more and more and more moving forward. So just make sure you're talking about it and saying, hey, this product is WUI compliant. This product is fire compliant at an A-class rating. So you're really in the best boat. So let's move to the NCR slide. Now, Valor has been rated the highest rated product in the country for several years running. This is a website that used to be up that has since shut down as a result of problems with the web designer, the web owner, and maybe back at some time in the future. But for right now, I'm bringing this up because I just want to illustrate that you've got gutter guards out there that like Leaf Filter. Leaf Filter was ranked number 14 on this website. This was the only third-party endorsement website in the country at the time. This was in 2020. So and prior. So being the highest rated product, obviously that created a lot of stir in the community of gutter guards. People started really focusing on this website. Many of the gutter guard companies know about it. There was a lot of push to try to take it down because there was so much competition involved. They had Gutter Dome on there, Gutter Glove. They had Leaf Filter. They had Buyer's Leaf Guard. They had Gutter Helmet, all ranking below the number 1 rated gutter guard in the country, Valor Gutter Guards. Now, if you go on and you look online and you just want to do a little personal research, look up fails for each of those gutter guards and look up fails for Valor Gutter Guards, you're going to find very few, if any, on Valor and lots of the others. That isn't because we're new anymore. It used to be because we were new. People would say, oh, well, you're new. We're almost a 20-year-old company now. We've been out there. We've put millions of feet out, and we're still holding strong with reviews. So most of the time when I get a complaint, it is because either the psychological presentation to the customer was not set properly, or the installer made a simple mistake that is easily correctable. Very few times have I run into situations where it was the guard and it was defective and I had to replace it every single time we replaced it. So, and that's why you don't see a lot of complaints about us out there. Durability, we got a 5 overall. We got a 5. Reputation, we still have a stellar reputation in the community. Protection, value, they put value, they give us a little half mark there on the value because we're still pretty expensive when it comes to gutter guards. So the average gutter guard sells for about, the average Valor gutter guard sells for about $25 a foot nationally on average. $25 a foot. Oh my God, that's high. Well, let's put that in perspective. You have the #1 product in the country being sold for $25 a foot on average, and the number 14 gutter guard product in the country being sold at $40 a foot. So when you go out against leaf filter, you go out against buyers, you go out against gutter helmet. When you run into these other reps, you're able to give them a much better price with a much higher quality product, and you should win that deal every single time, if not every time. This gutter guard, this is the only gutter guard I've been doing this for a long time. I've worked with Gutter Glove, I've worked with Gutter Dome, I've worked with other gutter guards other than those, and this has been the one that I gravitated towards, mainly because my clients were leaving me and going to Valor because they were, man, I don't get the callbacks. And so just keep that in mind as a salesperson. You can be confident in selling this at the price that you're selling it at because the value is there. The things that you need to know when you're selling is how much does it cost to fix a soffit? How much does it cost to fix a rake board, a dry rotted rake board and beam? How much does it cost to replace this fascia board? If a leak goes down the wall because your fascia board's rotted out and water got back into the beams and went down the wall, how much does it cost to fix that kind of stuff? If you have that information readily available to you, you could say, man, this is what it costs. So if your gutter's back up and you decide you're going to put something on there that doesn't work, this is how much it can cost you to get all this fixed. It's a really good tool to have those numbers with you, because obviously we're trying to build value into the product, and the more value you build into the product, the easier it is for a customer to say, yeah, that makes sense to me. And so moving forward to the next thing, we're going to talk about roof pitch. So if you're looking at a roof, you're a sales guy, you're new, you're not sure, follow this guide to the T. Do not go above 412 pitch with a flat wing product. So if you're selling a flat wing product, just if it's above a 412 pitch, and you should have a pitch chart. If you type in Google roof pitch chart, there's a whole bunch of them out there, and they can give you pictures of what the roof pitch is, so you can pretty much hold it up and look at the roof and go, yeah, that's a 512 pitch, yeah, that's a 612 pitch. I would do flat wing 412 and below. I would do bent wing 512 and above. You will absolutely eliminate every call when it comes to pitch and overshoot. So that is my recommendation. You can, however, if you like the flat wing, or your installers want to use the flat wing, they're like, hey man, it's easier. I don't have to put screws to the fascia board. I can go underneath the shingle on this one. I'm sure of it, that kind of stuff. You can go to 5 and 612 pitch with a flat wing. I would only recommend that with skilled installers that know what they're looking at. And installers they turn pretty often as well. So you're going to want to be careful with that, because if they put it on a 612 pitch on a metal roof, you're toast. They put it on a 612 pitch with a metal tile roof, the new metal tile roofs, you're toast. What's the other one? Spanish tile roof. Spanish tile roof, water's moving pretty fast down those gullies. You might get into trouble with a 512 pitch if you are putting the gutter guard underneath the shingle. And with Spanish roofs, a lot of people don't even like to do that anyway, because you can break the tiles pretty easily. Standard tile roof, you can go underneath the shingle. My recommendation is, if you run into a tile roof, you're doing an estimate for bentling, period. The thing about roof pitch and gutters that you have to look out for is the gutter height. So if the gutter, you got to get out to a house and the gutter's flush on the roof line, and that front gutter lip is level with the roof line, you can't use bentling on it unless you lower the gutter. So just keep in mind when you're looking at a gutter, you want to make sure that you see the level of the gutters. Always, and while you're doing your estimate, always look for dry rot anywhere you go. Carry a screwdriver in your pocket. Do yourself a favor. You're up on a ladder. You're doing a measurement anyway. Poke the wood. Even if it looks good, just give it a little poke. And if it feels soft, you got a problem, and there's roof work to be done before you do your gutters. Because what's going to happen is if you're replacing the gutters, you pull that off there and it's all dry rot. Obviously, you guys run into this with your installers. And now you've got to stall your sale out, and you're not going to sell that. You're not going to get paid on that one for the next month because they got to go back and they got to fix rake board, and they got to fix soffit, and they got to fix beams, and they've got to fix whatever it is that's dry rotted. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your estimates. You want to look for the dry rot, point it out, make sure you label it so that somebody, and take a picture, because that can get you in a lot of trouble, if you're estimating and you're not, it's going to make you look like you're not doing your whole job. So just FYI. That's how I would handle roof pitch on everything. And just keep in mind the gutter height. If you're using bentling, you need a 1/2 inch. You need a 1/2 inch clearance so that you can sit flat, but you can't sit backwards. And so if you're out doing an estimate, you just want to make sure you have that extra 1/2 inch on the roof line, and that the gutter itself is below the roof line. So let's get into the website password. I just gave it out to you guys. I think you guys all got it already, so we can bypass that if you want, but I'm going to go ahead and have him post it anyway. This is where you end up. You can see pro installation guides. These are actually really nice, professionally done installation guides. Now, you're going to see them use caulk on the installations. If you want to watch them as a salesperson, it's good to know. It's good to watch. Just make sure that your installers know that if they use caulk on a seam anywhere, not to drag their finger down the caulk, because in these videos they use caulk. It's an option, not a must. So and that's true for a lot of different. There's a lot of different ways to do a seam. If there's not just one specific way, there's one specific way I do it. Some guys will overlap and put a screw in screen. Some guys will cut one side and then tuck the other side underneath. Again, it's all about prep in that situation. And the installer should know that all the mesh needs to be cut all the way right flush to the frame. That there's nothing sticking out from the frame, because if it is, you can create a drip. It's not a guarantee, but it's guaranteed you don't if you make sure those things are gone. And that the screen is cut in far enough to create a pressure seal. You can do caulk in the back if customer has problem with a little gap in the back. Most of the time, the gaps in the back are less than 1 inch in diameter, as far as total square inches. It's a very small hole. You can put caulk there if you want. You don't have to. It's usually up underneath the shingle anyway. Bent wing and flat wing. Let's move to the bent wing, flat wing. We'll go back on camera here. I'll just show the prep. So we talked about this in the install video, and I showed you guys the prep for the guard should look like this. Let me get my head out of the way so you can see it. Should be clean. You see no frays there sticking out from the frame other than that cut portion. Now, it doesn't have to look that clean. I think I showed you that before, but it should not be touching the frame inside or outside. It should be cut away from. And so you can see the gaps there that I have. That's how you properly do a seam. If that front part of that screen is cut too close to the edge, you can get a drip there. It's not a guarantee, but if you want to avoid service calls, cut that back. Leave a little bit of leave that mesh off that front edge. It's kind of like when you get a twig stuck to the front. It's going to follow that twig line. You know, if a twig gets caught on a gutter guard or a leaf or something, and then the water will go over the top of it until that leaf or twig clears. That's the same concept on a seam. This is how they look raw. So raw, they come like that. They are pre-cut here, but sometimes they're not the stamp doesn't get the back end, so you've got to cut it yourself. But again, you'll see there's a little bit of fraying that's sticking out. Actually, that one's actually pretty good. There's normally a little bit of fraying right here that's sticking out from the screen where it's pressed in, and that's where you would be trimming that out. Oh, there it is. So see those two little strands can create a problem. So it's very important, if you do your seams right, you shouldn't get a call. Pitch first, gutter positioning, and then make sure your seams are correct, and you shouldn't get a call. The only other thing is the inside corners, which we'll get to in just a minute. This is obviously a flat wing product. This is a bent wing product, and you can see the difference. Bent wing is going to mount to the back of the fascia board, and that's your 1/2 inch clearance that you need in order to mount that and keep it at least flat. All right. So gutter types, we run into a lot of gutter types. I don't know what you guys have. Most of our gutters out here are fascia style gutters. What I have on this is a K style gutter, which is what you're used to, K style or OG. Those have standard sizes. So when you're measuring, you see a 5-inch OG, it's going to be 4 3/4 inside measurement. You already know those are pre-made that way for the K style gutter. I don't think there are K style gutters out there that aren't exactly the same, pretty much uniformly across the U.S. You might find some custom Ks in certain places, but if it's a 5 or a 6 inch, you're going to have 5 3/4 inch inside measurement, 4 3/4 inside measurement for the 5 inch, 5 3/4 for the 6. So all of our bent wing products are standard that way. Now, if you have a fascia style gutter, which is the one that's flat on the front, or has just very small perforation, has a 2-inch bottom, has a 4 1/2 inch opening on top, whether it's 6, 7, or 5-inch gutter, it's the opening on the fascia style gutter is 4 1/2 inches. It's always the same. So if you run into the fascia style gutter, you have a 4 1/2 inch measurement. What I like to do and what I like to see is when you run into something you're not familiar with, take a measurement. Rule of thumb, just take a measurement, check it out, make sure that it's that the inside measurement is what you think it is, and you're going to have a much better result that way. Half round gutters we run into, box gutters we run into, many of those inside measurements have to be measured, and usually you'll want to do one in the middle and one on either end. So one or the other, just so that you can get an idea of if there's any bowing in the gutter, and how it was mounted. Some of them are pretty solid. Usually the box gutters are steel, so they're nice and solid, not a big deal. Everything's pretty uniform. The half rounds, they're usually copper or steel, so pretty uniform. You just get your inside measurements and you go. There are some that are custom that are lighter weight material. You get plastic, you get ceramic, you get all kinds of different things out there these days. So just keep in mind that those types of gutters that aren't common to your knowledge might have different size openings. So if you're ordering a bent wing product, it's a 6/12 pitch, it's a tile roof, you got to use bent wing. Make sure you get your inside measurements and get them correct. And those are easily made to order. So when you place an order, you just tell us what you need. The outside corner, I got an outside corner. So this is how an outside corner should look. So this is the cover strip here. You'll see when I take this off, it's got quite a big gap in there. It doesn't have to be perfect. So when you're when you're ordering, as far as gutters go, you don't have to worry too much about inside and outside corners, other than, you know, you just want to see what they look like, and possibly have some pictures with you that kind of give the customer a view of what they look like. And when you put your cover strip on and it's glued on properly and mounted, it looks nice and clean. It gives a good presentation. So that's the outside corner. Now, the other thing we're going to talk about is inside corners. This is an inside corner pre-cut. As a salesperson, I would let people know this is what an inside corner looks like. As an installer and a salesperson, I would say this is it looks nice, but it's not as efficient as our high flow inside corner. And I recommend you do the upgrade to the high flow inside corner. Is it a little more expensive? Yes. Is it more efficient? You're not going to call me later and say, hey, I've got a problem with my gutters. Yes. So it's going to be more efficient for you. But they go on really easy and slide right on down. And as you can, sometimes they do. As you can see, that's an inside corner pre-cut. For those of you that are installers or just salespeople, it's always good to see it done. And I would recommend every salesperson go out on an install. And I would recommend that they go out and they actually work on the install. Give them something to do. Show them how to do a seam, have them do it, and then check their work. The more knowledge they have on the roof, the better it's going to be for the installer, and to make sure your transaction gets completed and you get paid. I can't tell you how many people, or how many times as a production manager, I went out on the job and I'm looking at it and I'm going, why did they order this material for that job? Why did a shake shingle roof, perfect example, $27,000 job. Shake shingle roof, clearly the shake shingles went down into the gutter. They were gonna either have to lower the gutter, or they were gonna have to have a roofer come out and trim the shingle back, which is something we don't do, most of us, unless you're a roofer. A roofer can adjust on the fly for that, but then again, your customer has to get, there's going to be a charge for that, so they get sticker shocked again, and now you're killing your deal. So make sure you're aware and you know what's what on a job site. If you're not sure, call somebody and ask. Please call somebody. You can call me direct. And my number's posted, 916-303-6204. Cool. So this is a high flow inside miter. For the salespeople that haven't seen one, this is one that's trimmed to be installed. You cut them to fit. They're cut right on the site. They're, like I said, they're a little bit more expensive than a regular cut inside miter, but they look aesthetically better, and they in my opinion, some people don't like the aesthetics of them because it changes the pattern of what's going on the house. But on an inside corner, you want what works, not what looks pretty. However, we still want to look good. That makes sense. So this just basically goes on an inside corner like this, like so. It's mounted to the front. And that, and then it's screwed to the front of the house, boom, 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 and that's an inside corner for a high flow inside corner. Now the water breaks on these. You are definitely, if you have a metal flange like this on a roof, you want to put diverters in there. So you're going to want to make sure that your production manager is ordering diverters for this house. If this was your house and you were out doing an estimate, if you see one of these metal flanges, plan on doing diverters or splash guard. Whatever you guys are used to doing is fine. I prefer diverters. Diverters are a little bit more stealthy. I can put them on the roof like so, and when it's the same, our charcoal color is the same color as this inside piece here, so it actually matches the roof better. So you get them in charcoal. You put them on the roof every 2 feet, so you're going to need 3 sets of diverters. So you know automatically if you see a metal flange anywhere on any roof, just automatically go to, I'm going to need a diverter set. It is up to the installer. He can go ahead and test it. If he doesn't need them, he doesn't need them. They only cost $6. So it's not like a heavy item. However, as a salesperson, when you sell it, it gives you build value. Hey, we're going to put diverters onto the house. It's going to prevent that water from overflowing on the inside corner. If they've had gutter guards before, they already have experience with it. If they haven't had gutter guards before, you can educate them on that, obviously. Some of them, you can put some down at the bottom. I recommend if you do put them at the bottom, that you put one a little bit closer here so that when it cascades around, it's not moving as fast. You can create a ramp. The closer you get to the bottom, the more likely you are to have a ramp for the water to shoot off of if it's still moving too fast. So the object is to slow it down up here, slow it down here, and then ultimately get the rain to go into the guard at a speed that it can handle. It's not that it can't handle 44 inches of rain an hour. It's that 44 inches of rain an hour going 30 miles an hour is a little different. So that's what we're trying to prevent there. So that's the inside corner. That's a little bit about diverters. Let's get a little bit more detailed about diverters and roof types. I think I've showed you guys this before, but I want to go through it again. First thing we're going to look at is dry screen and awnings. Give me just a sec. If you run into this as a salesperson, it is very important that you educate the customer. When you're looking at the gutters, if ever the customer is out there with you on the job site, looking at the gutters with you, make sure you point out any tiger striping. Very important. If they've never had gutter guards in their house and you're pointing out tiger striping, what that tells them is their gutters already drip. What a lot of people perceive when you sell them a gutter guard, this is the best gutter guard on the planet, blah, 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 and you go through your whole sales pitch, they've signed your application, they're spending $10,000, $6,000, $4,000, whatever it is, dollars. They didn't look at their gutters before. Now they're going to be looking. So make sure that you point that out during your estimate. If there's any overshoot or any places where you see water has run over onto the front face of the gutter, any tiger striping, and what that does is you let them know at that time, listen, all gutters drip. When it's raining, you can't control rain. God puts the rain where the rain goes. And so it's going to hit the side of the gutter. It's going to hit the back of the, it's going to hit wherever it hits. And so you'll get a little bit of dripping on all your gutters like you normally do, right? And so what you're going to point out is the majority of the water, and what we're trying to do here is make the water go away from the house in order to protect the foundation, protect the faucet, keep it from backing up, creating a roof issue that wouldn't otherwise happen if your gutters weren't filled with leaves and clogged. And so what we want to do here is give you a way to not only protect your home, but keep the majority of the water in the gutters and flowing and away from the house. How's that sound? Great. So now they know that all gutters drip. That way, well, I had a guy 3 months ago calls me from Auburn and says, hey, you said my gutters would catch all the water. And he was literally demanding a refund because his gutters had condensation and they were dripping around the house. Just condensation. Well, we had a freezing time it was freezing weather during that time. It was about 20 degrees. And so he had ice on his gutters and that was dripping too. And so he assumed that because he put gutter guards on and spent $6,000 on a gutter guard system, that he shouldn't have any dripping anywhere ever. And so it's really important, can't stress that enough, to let people know that gutters drip anyway. Yeah, whether I put a gutter guard on here or anything on here, your gutters are still going to drip normally. What I'm trying to prevent, and if you see something that is dripping, it should be a steady, fast-flowing drip. If you see a steady, fast-flowing drip, that's a drip I can fix. Regular dripping, I can't. That's just normal. So with this awning, so when you're looking at you're out there, you're talking to your customer, you walked around, you're doing your estimate. If you do that, some people like to do their estimates by themselves, come back and then give the customer the information and then walk them around. Some people don't walk them around at all. I recommend the more engagement you can have with the customer that makes them interact with you, the better off you are. The more personable you seem, the more sellable your item. So with the awning, obviously dry screen on any micro mesh anywhere. Doesn't matter if it's leaf filter or whatever. I know there's a gutter helmet out there now that has a screen on the front. If it's dry, it's going to repel water, not collect it. So what you do in this situation, there's a couple different methods you can do. There's one I forgot during the installation, meaning there's a piece like this. This is called melt away. It's meant to house a cable. Oh, they can't see this, can they?
Hang on. Yeah.
So this is called melt away. The awning, that we were talking about earlier, if you can't use extra large mesh, there's a Doug fir tree right over the top of the awning, and that it's going to work. Those needles are going to work their way through the screen. You can put this on as $1. I want to say $1.09 a foot. And what this? No, it's 79 cents a foot. So what you do is you just attach this to the front of the gutter guard, and essentially it looks like this when you're done. And so even though you're not putting a heat cable in there, what that does is water will come down there. Water will drop through that no matter what. It's going to keep there. Now, the trade-off is you're going to have some debris that's going to collect there. It's a good fix for the water portion of it, not so much for the debris problem. But if you're in that situation and they're going, hey, my patio furniture's wet, this is going in my whatever, adding this to your repertoire might not be a bad idea to have guys have this on their truck just in case. Other than that, if there are no Doug firs, you can try large mesh on there. Large mesh is going to get saturated a little bit quicker than the standard mesh. Standard mesh is tight enough to where water's going to flow over it for a little while before it'll get wet enough for it to start taking on water. The large mesh, not so much. You're going to have a lot less overflow. You're still going to get some overflow with the large mesh. With the extra large mesh, you might get a couple drips, and it'll start working right away. So extra large mesh under awnings, if you don't, or you can use the melt away. You can also tell your customer if they want to do the maintenance and have a hose ready, they can wet it down when it starts raining. But I only know one person in my life that would probably do that. So you don't want them to have to do that kind of stuff. Obviously, we're selling them a very high value product at a very high price, and we want them to have the least amount of maintenance possible. If you're out there and somebody says, oh, well, Leaf Filter said it's totally maintenance free, there you can automatically tell them they're lying to you. There is no such thing as a maintenance free gutter guard. That is a misnomer. That is something that was a sales hook when gutter guards came out, and it stuck for a long, long time. What the honest people in this business have figured out and put out there is that what you really have is a low maintenance gutter system, and the low maintenance is maybe once a year you might have to take a brush, like a deck brush, put it on a broomstick backwards, and walk around and brush off your gutter guard if you get a problem area. You still will get problem areas on the inside corners, obviously, and I went back and forth a little bit on that. I told you how diverters work. I'm going to go through that diverter section again for salespeople. This is for, obviously, you guys heard this earlier, but I'm going to say it again just because we're recording this, and I want to make sure that anybody else that watches this after has the information they need, and it's not a bad idea to take another look. So can we go to the diverter pictures for the roof? So this is a standard upper roof. You have your metal flange there, and you notice I have no diverters there. On an upper roof, it's not as important to have diverters there And the reason is because you're going to put large mesh or extra large mesh here. This was a house that we did. We put extra large there originally, and we ended up putting large mesh after the fact because of the pine tree you see in the background. So this was a learning experience for us. The large mesh will take on most of the water. That metal flange is going to come down. You don't put a diverter in that metal flange because it's on an upper roof. What happens with this whole gutter? So this whole roof empties out into this gutter and then runs onto the roof below. And so all that water's coming down this one section, that one section just below that gutter. So it spreads out about maybe a foot or two. And so, but it's a massive amount of water that comes down there because of the way that roof's designed. Now let's show the next slide.
John, we're not seeing the slides here.
Oh, you're not?
No, it's not coming up.
Sorry.
I remember the pictures from the install one, but
yeah. Can you see that?
Yep, it just popped up.
Okay. Did you see this one?
You had that on the last presentation, the install presentation.
Yeah, and that's the one I was just talking. Not which one are you looking at right now?
I can see the one with the pine tree in the background. Says XL mesh.
Got it. Okay, so that's the one I was just talking about. So let's go ahead and back up to that. Let me explain that real quick again. So what we did here, I'm just going to explain this real quick. You see the pine tree in the background. We started with extra large mesh, and we ended up having to use large mesh on it because of the pine trees. But that metal flange, we don't have diverters there because it's an upper roof, not a lower roof. All the water empties out just below that gutter and spreads out about a foot and a half and empties out down below. And I'll show you the next slide, which is going to illustrate where all that's going. So all that water is coming down right there where it says diverter options, right where the S's are on diverter options. That's where all that water is coming down. So along that side of the building there, underneath that window on the opposite side, where the window that you can't see, you're going to put diverters along that wall there, as well as on this wall here. So you got two roofs coming from both sides, all converging on this one little area down in the bottom, and you'll see that gable there is coming down. You're going to want diverters there, trying to keep it all pushed away. Even though it looks like that water is going to come down and it's going to push out onto the roof, it's actually going to drop right about where that arrow to the two-way arrow to the left there. It's going to drop right about where that arrow stops, just below the flange. Even though we put the diverters up there, it'll push it out. It'll swing around, push it out, and then it'll swing back down and land right about there. And so what it does is it spreads the water out in this particular situation. This was a really complicated roof for this reason, and there was quite a few diverters and stuff. Aesthetically, it doesn't look great, but functionally it's sound. And so they had a serious problem with water coming over right there, and their porch is just below that. So every time they had a rain, the way this roof's designed, when their gutters got clogged, that's where it came out. And so we solved that problem for them. You'll see we put diverters here in the middle on that metal flange below there. I put 3 there. I left a gap of a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch in between the flange center in order to let some of the water come through the middle, but most of the water cascade away from it, so that it comes down. It all still converges in different parts here down at the bottom. We did again use extra large mesh. We did again exchange it for large mesh because of the pine needle situation. So keep in mind when you're out there as a salesperson, if you run into pine needles, just go with large mesh or standard mesh. Save yourself the hassle. The large mesh you're going to have problems with. And unless the pine straw is way out in the yard somewhere. Anything near the house. In fact, I've had trees that are 15, 20 feet away from the house still get pine straw on top, because of the wind and how tall the pine tree is. So just keep that in mind when you're doing an estimate. Really important when you look at these, you look at them from the perspective of how the water flows. Whenever you divert water, you create a new problem. So you just want to make sure that when you divert the water, you're diverting it properly and it makes sense. and kind of just, you got a picture in your mind, where's this going to go if I do this? My first inclination when I did my very first diverter, I put one down at the bottom of the valley on a long run of flange, and I got a waterfall and got my customer's shoes wet because he was watching me do it. And so it was kind of embarrassing, and we both laughed about it, and was like, oh my gosh, that's not going to work, and realized that I have to put those in succession. And what I found out when I put 3 diverters on the roof on the inside corners at 2 feet apart, when I did that, the water would still, if you put one up above, it'll cascade around, hit the middle, and come straight down, and it just keeps moving fast. So if you don't do it in succession, you'll actually watch the water cascade around, slow down, cascade around, slow down, cascade around, slow down. So that's why we do 3. On these rooftops that are fairly steep, 612 and above, the water's moving even faster. So you want to take that in consideration when you do that, and make sure that you're spacing your diverters properly in your head when you're doing your estimate. Just make sure you're mapping it out. So this is how I would draw the map. I would draw a stick map of the house. Obviously, the perimeter, write the lengths, write the lengths down, and then I would put these little notes on here, just like you see them on the explanation, so that when my production manager looks at it and then he looks at the pictures, he goes, okay, I understand why he's doing that. If you don't do that, the production manager is going to look at your sales report. They're going to follow that sales report. They're going to give them the stuff that you've put on the paper, and maybe a couple of things they catch. But many times, if you've got 25 jobs a week going on, 30 jobs going on, the production managers sometimes don't have enough time to go through all that. So you really, as salespeople, if you want to help your production manager, help your installers do a successful job so that you get paid, ultimately you don't get paid unless they get paid, unless that install happens. Just make sure that you're really doing your due diligence. Again, I highly recommend going out on a sale or on a install. If you're a salesperson, participate in the sale, cut some gutter guard, feel what it's like to mount a piece of gutter guard on a house. It's really going to give you an intuitive picture of what that looks like, what that feels like, and it's going to help you appreciate what's happening there and why it's so important that you do this properly. We're not just out to make money, we're out to help people solve problems. And if we can help people solve problems, the money comes. So that's what we're looking at as far as that goes. Now let's look at back and front porches. Again, just like the awning situation, you'll see that front gutter or that back. This is a back porch. You'll see that one piece of gutter with a downspout there, and there's a gutter above it. Everything is collected from that roof, goes in that gutter, and empties out right there at that one little spot. The part that's covered is dry screen. Again, you're going to run into the dry screen issue. You can use a diverter set, a 2-piece diverter set for that. So whenever you order or whenever you're looking at diverters, they come in 10 pieces, 5 rights, 5 lefts. And so you would need a right and a left for that installation. So just mark, make sure that you keep a note of that. Now, you'll also see that that's an asphalt seam coming down. There may be an issue with speed on that one. So you'll want to order another set of diverters just in case. And so that the installer has it when he's out there in order for him to avoid a service call. So you help him, he helps you. Let's move to the next slide. This is the same situation, except it's on a front porch. This one isn't over the top of the porch, so you probably won't get a complaint right away, but that little flower bed right there is gonna get doused with water. It's right underneath the gutter. You ruin their little flower pot, and you're gonna get a call for that. You'll see that gutter and that whole gable is over the top of the lower gutter. That's why they have the splash guards there, which I think are in the wrong spot. They should be slid over probably closer to the front door on both sides by about 1.5 feet in order to catch that. Because all that water is coming out right there in the front, and as you can see that splash guard is over a little bit too far. And I'm sure after they did this house and they had their first major rain, they got a call on that for sure. Unless there's no gutter guard on that house. If there's no gutter guard on the house, they might have the gutter's probably catching it, but again, they're probably having overflow when they get their gutters filled. Downspouts on roofs, same situation. As you see here, this is emptying out on the roof. You know, one of the other things you can do is, if as a salesperson, you can make an assessment and say, you know what, that's going to create a problem for me. I see where it's over the top of the gutter like that. You can actually write up the estimate and add a downspout that drops into the gutter there. Now on this house, it's a very pretty house. They might have a problem with that. Most houses, even if they're pretty, it's not right in the front, you know, where everybody can see it. It's something off to the side or up on a roof where it's emptying onto a roof where you can put a downspout into the gutter and avoid any overshoot there if you put a gutter guard in. And in many cases, if a gutter company's already been out there to put a gutter guard on, they've thought of this or already had the problem. So you can bring it up while you're talking to them. Now, roof convergence, you know, a lot of roofs converge, like the one we just looked at back on that slide with all the red writing. We run into that quite often in the gutter world, where the roof design is just I've had some where the whole roof on the front side empties into a 2-foot gutter. I don't know if you've seen these houses, but it's the design, the engineering is just not sound at all. And so you have to really do something different to try to capture that water. Most of the time it's putting on a bigger, larger gutter that can handle the water flow. Many times they have a 5 or 6 inch K-style gutter, which is actually pretty good. But I would use like a 7-inch fascia on something like that. That's going to be able to handle the volume of water in the gutter itself. Because you know, when you're looking at something like that, it's just a massive volume of water coming through the front. I had one here in Roseville, which is a subsidy of Sacramento. We had to go out to the guy's house 4 times because he had that situation. And each time the installer said, I don't want to put a downspout there. And the customer had already said, yeah, I put a downspout in. And he kept trying to fix it. Ultimately, what happened is somebody else went out and put a downspout into the gutter and solved the problem. So just keep in mind, in those situations where you have those that empty out on the roof, downspouts that empty out on the roof, you want to make sure you account for large mesh. So if you have an upper roof that empties out onto the roof and comes down to any part of the gutter, whether it's a 20-foot piece or a 2-foot piece, make sure where the higher volume of water is coming down, you put large mesh there just to compensate for the water volume. And that pretty much wraps up most of the sales stuff. I mean, you guys, if you're doing in-home sales, you're probably doing something like a 1-call close. I sent out a bunch of stuff. Were you guys here for the first training? Eric? You weren't. Okay, so if you weren't here, can you make a note of a copy of their email addresses? So what I'm going to do is you can just highlight their name, do a clip of their name, and I can look them up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send out a copy of the 1-call close, the hard close, or not the extreme close, it's called. I'll send out the videos of the gentleman who created it and has been using it for years. It's a low pressure but 1-call close. So basically giving people an opportunity to make a decision, you know, that isn't so high pressure, but it's called the extreme close because they lose a lot if they don't make a decision today. And the reason they lose it is because you're explaining to them that, hey, you know, I'm driving 80 miles out of my way. To come back here costs a lot of money. So they're willing to give you a discount because I don't have to drive out here again if you sign today. You know, we're going to put a sign in your yard. With that sign in your yard, we're going to get 3 more jobs, which means we don't have to do as much advertising, which means I can give you a little bit of a discount for that because we're not paying for as much advertising. You're my advertising. So essentially, we're giving you a discount to pay you for the value you're giving us back by putting a sign in your yard, and so things like that. So and it goes through those items that you would normally go through in a one-call close, talk about build value, and then give them the value for their money that they're looking for. You start to talk about, leaf filter starts at $40 a foot. You really want to pay $40 a foot for a plastic product. In California, it gets 170 degrees on the roof in the summer. And that material is melts at 170 degrees. So you can imagine the problem they have. So when you have that kind of information, you have that kind of ammunition, obviously your sales going to go much better if you do it in an apologetic, thoughtful way, where you're not bad mouthing people, but you're just showing them the facts. Hey, this is going to work in this environment. This one isn't. This would be great in Ohio. Here it's not, or vice versa, whatever. But I'll send you that information. I've tailored it for Valor. So it has the extreme close. It's an actual script that does the extreme close. It has one call close, objections, everything that you run into, with exception to unique circumstances. Are there any questions for sales? Any situations you run into that you're like, how do I sell around this?
The only thing I can think of, John, we had one house. I went back to a couple times. The pollen kept collecting on the mesh itself, and it would just clog it up, and
that's
it kept
standard
flowing
mesh
over the front. Yeah,
that's going to be the standard mesh. Yeah, and so that's why I use large mesh on most of my jobs. I only use standard mesh, especially again pine trees. They have pine pollen, this deep yellow pine pollen that is filled with sap, and it's sticky, and it can make a mess, and it can clog the screen. So just keep that in mind. As salespeople, you want to make sure you're thinking about that stuff. What kind of trees am I looking at here? You're going to want to start to study the trees in your area. Just kind of see what's what. Hey, this is there's great websites out there for arborists that describe trees, the type of pollen that fall. You can search the trees that are in your area. Really important information when you're out on hey, that's a mulberry tree. And that one's not going to be a big problem for gutter guards. Hey, that one's a cotton willow tree. Big problem for gutter guards, And so you got to let them know, hey, you're going to get the same matting you get on the roof now with the cotton willow tree. You're going to have to peel it off the screen. It's going to be easy to clean off because it'll all be stuck together, but you're still going to get the matting that you do at any time during the year when the cotton willow tree is shedding. So same with oak tassels. Oak tassels fall, they explode into those little furry things. And there's actually a treatment you can give your oak tree that'll make those stop. So that's something you might want to look into too. There's different, all the arborists talk about that kind of stuff. So if you ever get on, want to study the trees in your area, it's really a good idea to know most of the trees. That way, when somebody asks you, what do I do about this tree? I don't even know what kind it is. And you know what type of tree it is. You know what type of pollen is dropping. You know what type of leaves it's dropping, how it behaves during the winter and the summer and the fall. You're going to be a much more valuable salesperson, obviously. The more knowledgeable you are, the better your sale goes. What else? Any other questions? So silt and pollen, if you want to get rid of that problem, large mesh all day long. Yeah. And that's not to say that you won't have one or two unique situations where there's so much pollen, you're like, anything would have caught it, But I haven't seen that yet with the large mesh, but I'm sure it'll happen eventually. I've seen it all, So, it's just a matter of time for all situations to reveal themselves. So, thank you guys for coming today. I really appreciate it. If you need anything, you're on a roof and you need help, or please give your installers my number and tell them, hey, if you have a problem, you're on a roof, call John. I would like to be proactive in that process. I pretty much have an answer for just about every situation you run into if I have a picture and a person to talk to. And so I can pretty much solve that problem. The only thing I can't solve is if you have the wrong parts on the job. If you're out there and you got a flat wing and you need a vent wing, job's over. So really important that the salesperson knows what they're talking about when they make their sale, so that everybody gets paid. Ultimately, buck stops with you. That's why you get paid the big bucks. All right, man. I really appreciate you guys coming out. Call me when you can, and we'll look forward to. I'll be doing this training again next month on the same date. What's today? 1st. On the 1st of every month for Valor. 2nd of every month, or first Friday of every month. I'm sorry. Manuel corrected me. First Friday of every month. Because sometimes first is going to fall on a weekend, obviously. So first Friday of every month, and the other brands will be doing a different day. So, all right. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming. See you guys.